So hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today I have another new graphics card. But this is also kind of special. This is not just another graphics card that I got that I just want to make a video about. This is actually something interesting. And yeah, this is the GTX 460 Hawk, as you can see here. And what this is basically just, well, MSI has the Lightning for their high-end cards, which are overclocking focused, and this is basically that for the mid-range cards like the GTX 460. And yeah, it's not called Lightning because, well, obviously this is not for liquid nitrogen overclocking, this is for... sorry, I had to make a cut there. Yeah, so this is basically MSI's overclocking focused card for mid-range. And yeah, this is not my first 460. I do already have a 460 that I modded quite a lot, and I'm gonna also compare this card to that card today because this is better a lot actually. Yeah, and if you know how the GTX 460 or like generally all of MSI's design from that time looks, you're gonna notice that these fans are not the ones that the card comes with, because I replaced them. So I got the card literally for 250 euros plus shipping. The shipping was literally twice the price that I paid for this card, and the reason why it was so cheap is because it was sold as defective, but then in the description the seller actually told me, yeah, like it's actually just untested. And so I thought, well, the card is looking like it's in good condition, and untested kind of means like I got two untested cards before, which were the HD 7950 and the GTX 480. Both in it are working. So yeah, I had a good experience until now with untested cards, so I went for this, and I like it's €2.50. Even if it was dead, I might have been... I mean, the VRAM on it is kind of nice. We're gonna see that once I tear it down. And yeah, so I just went for the card. And yeah, it ended up being fine in the important regions. So this card had two problems. The first problem was that it had a dead fan. So this one right here, that was dead. And the left one also was kinda slow. And the second problem was this card came, it was very obviously used with a custom heatsink before it was sold, because there were marks on the die of a custom cold plate from a different heatsink, because this one is just a flat cold plate that's bigger than the GPU. And yeah, it did have RAM heatsinks, which I removed because these RAM heatsinks were taller than the space that is between them and the heatsink. So the heatsink was hanging above the GPU with about 1 millimeter of air in between it, and that obviously had some thermal consequences. Yeah, so what I did is I repaired the heatsink with the fans from the GTX 560 Ti 448. These fans, well, the blade design is different. You can actually see the original fans right here because I put them onto the cooler of the 560 Ti 448. These are the original ones. As you can see, you can still spin them, but this one just doesn't turn, and this one is really slow and weak. Yeah. But the mounting on them is the same one, which is why you can just change them out. And originally I was planning to just put this cooler on it because it's a 5 heat pipe cooler and it's also a bit bigger. Like this is a Twin Frozr 3, the other one is a Twin Frozr 2, which is a smaller fin stack, and it also has only 4 heat pipes. Sadly, the problem is, while you can remove these brackets right here and switch them out for the ones that fit this mounting spacing, which is non-square, I sadly discovered that this length is just a tiny little bit shorter on the GTX 460. like 0.5 millimeter. So this heatsink doesn't fit, sadly. Yeah, and that's actually kind of a huge problem, because of this heatsink right now it does not really perform that good. I remember this one doing extremely well on a GF110. This is a GF104, and it's running pretty hot. Admittedly, it's not delidded, but this also only works with the IHS, so there's not that big of a difference there. So yeah, I had to use the old heatsink with just the changed fans. And yeah, I think we can tear it down now, because I really want to show you the PCB, because this card is nice. I like this card. Like, I was trying to get more GTX 460s for a while, because like right now I want to save up some money. Because like I think I have enough graphics cards for now, and pretty much the only graphics cards I'm interested in buying are things like GTX 460s, which are pretty cheap and still fun to overclock. Like basically any Fermi card is very nice to overclock. Yeah, there you can see. Yeah, one reason why the heatsink might perform so poorly is, you can see the thermal paste is not spreading that great. And I don't know if that's just an issue of not using enough thermal paste. I think that's enough, actually. Because the thing is, I totally cranked. Like, I used a lot of force to get those screws in. So the heatsink might have a mounting pressure issue. So yeah, it might happen that I end up using the Morpheus or the Arctic Accelero with this card, which is kind of a pain, because these connectors right here go off to the back, and not like this, what you have on most cards. And because the GTX 460 is so small compared to other cards, the heatsink is gonna cover them, and it will be, yeah, it's really hard to get the PCI Express cables in there and then back out. And yeah, that's why I would like to use the original cooler, also because it looks kinda nice. I really like this metal design that MSI had going on for their old twin Frozer coolers. I really like the look of them, especially this one. This is actually my favorite shroud and heatsink, because like the Lightning is basically the same thing, just bigger, but I think this just, I think it's the right combination of not being overly overkill and still having very nice performance. So I really like these heatsinks, so I would like to keep using them. But yeah, so here we have the bare PCB of the card, and if you watched the other GTX 460 video, you will already see the difference. That right there is a proper V-Core VRM, and not the absolutely garbage, like the really absolute garbage you get on a normal GTX 460. So, I think I'm gonna tear down my normal GTX 460 too, to compare them. We have it right here, yeah, still modded. It's on the reference heatsink right now. I'm gonna tear this one down too, and then I can show you the differences, which there are quite a lot of. Because apparently MSI actually cared about their cards having good overclocking. And actually MSI are not the only ones who really cared about these sort of mid-range cards, because there was a Hall of Fame card for the 560 Ti, there was a Gigabyte super overclock SoC card for the GTX 460, and then there's this Hawk, which, yeah, I would very much like to see something like that. Oops. Ah, yeah. I deleted this card, so yeah. So here we have the two PCBs, and I'm gonna put them like this so you can see more. So let's take a look at the part that matters. So from the outside they kind of look like the same. So with the heatsink on them, you would more or less see the same. You have your two 6 pins. The core layer, like anything about around the core, looks the same. You even have the same amount of filtering capacitors. But then if you look at the VRM, that's such a big difference. And like, this is legitimately the worst VRM that I ever saw on a card that's not like just a display out. Like, this was a mid-range performance segment card, and you get this VRM, which is a 3-phase with Mosfets. I don't have a public data sheet, and yeah, I actually forgot the current figures. I think it was 27 amps for the low sides, and it's just like, yeah, how about no? And yeah, this VRM is like, I'm actually surprised that this card has not blown up. I said it in pretty much every video about the card, and I'm still standing by it. This card, at some point, I will just kill it, because I will just overload the VRM, it will blow up, and that's the end of this card. Which is why I never really cared about it in the first place. This card, on the other hand, is really nice. So, what you have here is a 6-phase V-Core VRM, and you actually get some nice Mosfets. So the Highsides are already ones that we had in the past. These are PH7030ALs. Or are they? Yeah, 7030ALs. So these are 3 milliohms RDS(on). And then the low sides are on semiconductor. These are 4935Ns. Yeah, 4935Ns. And so this VRM is actually pretty nice, because like the PH, yeah, like they're not gonna go with some kind of weird inverted VRM layout. So the ones on the right should be the high sides, the one on the left should be the low sides, because that's like what everyone does. Yeah, so the 7030ALs, these were actually used as low sides on the Direct CO2 580. Here they should be the high sides. I don't think it would make sense to put the low sides there and then the high sides there, because like this is a high-end MOSFET package, whereas this is a cheaper one actually. The 4935N, I don't have the data sheet memorized right now, but I do remember it being a better one than the 4C06N or the 4C10N. I'm just gonna look it up. 4935N. There we have it. Oh yeah, this is actually decent. Oh wait, that's the max figure. Okay, we have a continuous drain current of 25 amps at 100 degrees, of 40 amps at 25 degrees ambient. So that's not case temperature. Continuous drain current for case temperature is 25 degrees, T-case is 93 amps. So the max figure is actually continuous drain, not pulse drain, okay. And then at T-case 85 degrees we have 59 amps. Which, well, there's no heat sinking on this VRM, so these are gonna be quite toasty. But 59 amps, like... and I don't think we're gonna reach the 100 degree ambient temperature ever, because like yeah, the ambient is not gonna be at 100 degrees, so we're gonna be at least like above 25 amps per low side. These MOSFETs, though, they use quite cheap packaging, like all of those. These are actually quite decent. These are one of the better ones that you can get in this packaging. Actually, if the 4935N, I saw this MOSFET before, and I kind of have a feeling that this is actually on my Z370 AORUS Gaming 5. I think that's where they are. And yeah, so that motherboard is in my daily system. It's not really that amazing, but it's doing a pretty good job of running my 8700K at 5.1 GHz. So yeah, yeah, so from the datasheet, like these MOSFETs are not the best, but they are pretty good. Which for GTX 460, that's what we want. We don't want this. And like the thing is, now where I have the 460 Hawk, you might say, yeah, now this card actually has more value because you could run it in SLI. Sadly, I can't for two reasons. This is not actually a normal 460, this is a 460 SE or Special Edition, which means this is basically just a 460 with the cut down core. So instead of 336 cores, I think you get 288, but the rest is the same. And yeah, I don't think you can SLI these. And then also the thing is, the card only has one SLI finger, like both of these only have one, and the only SLI bridge I have is a high bandwidth 2 connector bridge. So yeah, I do not have an SLI bridge, which is, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna be running these in SLI anytime soon, which is not like, I mean, SLI is always kinda, it's a thing I want to do, it's a thing that my Z370 system can do it too, but my X370 system, which is my test bench, can do SLI as well. And yeah, I mean, if I could just get one of the flexible bridges and then I could run my 780 Ti's and my 580s in SLI, because that would work. I'm not so sure about these, but I might be able to flash this into a normal 460. I just haven't managed to convince NV Flash to flash, actually, yeah. And then, yeah, so let's talk some more about this card. I'm gonna put the other 460 away. So, yeah, so let's talk some more about the card. This card is actually in very good condition. Like, it did come with the plastic piece, like it came with all the protective pieces still. Like, there was one on here, there was even one for the PCI Express slot. I just removed those because, well, I want to use the card. And it even came with the original box and all the packing material, and like even a still sealed DVI to VGA adapter. And yeah, so even though this card was sold as defective and untested, and it obviously had was not in working condition when I got it, but it was a pretty easy fix. I just had to, well, put the other fans on and then get the heatsinks off the memory modules, which I didn't rip them off because then I would risk ripping off the memory modules as well. I just took pliers and kind of twisted those off because the glue was still soft, and so I could just twist those off. Got the heatsinks off pretty easily without risking the memory chips coming off as well. And yeah, so that's how I got the heatsinks off. And like overall, like you can see the heatsink is not dirty. It's like there's even still the original inventory sticker on this card. I have a feeling that this card was bought and then immediately moved to a custom heatsink, and for whatever reason that one fan died. Like the card is really clean. It's not dusty, like all of the dust that's on there came from me, except for that stuff. But I'm seeing this on all the MSI cards actually. I think that's like maybe solder flux or something. Something they do at the factory. So yeah, this card is in very good condition, and yeah, I really like the Fermi MSI cards because well, they have some nice overclocking features on them. So this card supports triple overvoltage, just like the 560 Ti 448 and the GTX 580 Lightning. So you can not only raise core voltage in MSI Afterburner, you can also adjust memory voltage and PLL voltage, which the memory voltage is kind of useful because I did see extra memory clocks on the other 460 with my volt mod that I did on that card, and this card can just go 100 millivolts extra without doing a volt mod, even though you have your memory controller right there. The Pwm controller right there. It's another one of those 8 leg package things because it's just a single phase. Easy to mod, very easy to mod. So you could also just do that. And then the PLL voltage, well, that's actually just useful if you LN2 this. Which, I mean, you can LN2 this. It's just an unusual thing to do. You would LN2 a lightning, not this. But I mean, no one's stopping you. Like, I think implementing the PLL voltage thing in software is just like copy-paste it from another thing, because I very likely, like, that's probably the PLL. Yeah, that's probably the PLL rail. So you have your one inductor right there, and then there's one of these ICs. Don't know if that's a Pwm controller or some driver circuitry, but like this is probably one of those ICs that just basically integrate an entire VRM, like a Pwm controller, driver circuitry, and two very weak Mosfets, because of PLL, that there's basically no power going through there. You don't need a powerful VRM for that. And yeah. And then not only does it support the triple overvoltage thing, it also has the voltage read points, just like the 560 Ti448 and the Lightning, which is also very nice, because yeah, you don't have to solder a wire to the back of the card to get your voltage reading. You just have to hook your multimeter up to this. And yeah, they're even saying what is what. So the one on the left is PLL, the one in the middle is GPU, and the one on the right is memory. And I think, are those fuses? Those might be fuses, so if you accidentally short your monitoring thing, the fuses is gonna blow and you won't have a problem with your card. That's a nice thing. And yeah, let's take a look on the back, shall we? So we have our Pwm controller right here. That's a UPI part. MSI really likes UPI. That's UP8213AJ. I don't know if this has a public data sheet, because like the controllers that MSI uses for the 580 and the 560 Ti448, I couldn't find data sheets for them. So this might be one of the non-public ones as well. This might be the exact same one that the 560 Ti has. No, that one has a different package, so this might be a different one. And then also one thing you have is the switch right here. Two switches, which we already kind of know from the 580 Lightning. This is Extreme Cool and OCP unlocker. So yeah, Extreme Cool, I think that's just LN2 mode. So yeah, they have implemented LN2 functionality on this card, which, yeah, I mean, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily LN2 a card like this, but you could definitely do it. Like, today I would be surprised if a mid-range card even had any kind of things that help you overclock. Like, that would be very weird. And like this thing has an LN2 mode, and that's just like, I love these cards, like all the other overclocking cards as well. Like these are fantastic. Like the reason why I like high-end cards so much today is because they have interesting PCBs. Your mid-range cards are pretty much just cost optimized, and then there's maybe one or two cards per generation that do something that's noteworthy, and then these are kind of interesting, but not really that much. But these kind of cards, I love these things. Like, yeah, I don't care if it's a mid-range card or a high-end one. This is Fermi, you're not gonna daily this. So the entire value of this card for me is just how nice is the PCB and how much fun is this gonna be when overclocking. And this is a very nice PCB and also gonna be very nice for overclocking. And I really appreciate that. And yeah, so here and then we have another 3 ICs around the VRM. These are probably the same driver chips that we saw on the 580 Lightning and the 560 Ti448. These are, yeah, like UP62, no wait, 82, oh, I can't actually read these. Yeah, the camera doesn't really want to focus on them. 8284AD, I would think. Well, yeah, like these are, like considering that this Pwm controller, I mean, you also have 6 LEDs right here. I actually didn't notice these. So you have 6 LEDs right here, which MSI used these to indicate how many of your faces are running. Since there are 6 LEDs, and since this controller has a package that indicates it's gonna have 6 PWM signals coming out of it, and then somewhere around here should also be the current sense circuitry. Some of these ICs around the PWM controller are gonna be current sense. You're probably gonna have 6 channels of those. So yeah, this is not a doubled 3-phase. These are not doublers. This is an actual 6-phase because, like, yeah. And yeah, I mean, this I really like this card. I mean, the one thing that I don't like that much about the MSI cards from that time is just the fact that they're using, like, yeah, brown glossy PCBs, and it's just like, no. Please no. Yeah, I don't like that, actually. So the one thing that this card does better is it's matte black PCB, because it's Zotac, and Zotac kind of uses these for some reason. But like, yeah, I mean, I will take a matte black, glossy black one, but a glossy brown one, yeah, I don't like how this looks. But apart from that, I really like the card, really like the PCB. I just like it a lot. Like, this PCB shows me that MSI really cared about this card, that they wanted to make it good. Like, even the little MSI logo on the memory inductor, that's just like, yeah. I like this card a lot. And yeah, so I'm hoping that I will be able to run it at nice high clocks. I'm not gonna be able to water cool it because of the mounting spacing, but at some point I will be using the custom heatsink. I think I'm just gonna use the Morpheus on this because I checked and it does seem to have the mounting holes for this, and the Morpheus is kind of farther away from the PCB, so I don't sticking these in with the Arctic heatsink is a real pain, because it's so close to the PCB. And then, yeah, like, I don't really think this card is gonna profit that much from modding as the other one, because like this one has a much better VRAM. But you can still see there are empty capacitor pads, and this VRM, yeah, like maybe doing a power bridge over here would do something. And then, yeah, so modding this card, like I could do a bunch of modding on this, but for now I'm just gonna stick to modding the other 460, and this one, like, this is one of the nicer cards that I kind of wanna keep in like stock configuration as they are. And yeah, and then one more thing that I kinda wonder what it is this thing right here that says remove after washing. The Lightning has this too. I kinda suspect it's something like because if you do liquid nitrogen with this, you're gonna probably put Vaseline all over it, and the best way to get Vaseline off your card is just to put it into the dishwasher and run it. It's not gonna kill the card. It's actually completely fine. Like I did it in a past video. Like the HD7950, I dunked that thing into water and it kept working. So if you get water on your PC, and like, it will be completely fine if you just let it dry. And like motherboards might have an issue because the CMOS battery is still in there, but if you remove the CMOS battery, you can also put a motherboard into the dishwasher. Like, as long as there's no electricity going through your components, you can wash them with water. Like that's no problem. So yeah, that might be something. Maybe it's supposed to like suck up the wetness from the card or something. I don't know. And then kind of the last thing that I want to check, that I want to put a check mark on for this card is the capacitor layout. I'm gonna take the other one for comparison. And yeah, the capacitor layout actually looks very similar on these. So on the reference 460, you get, on the 12 volts power plane, you get 4 271 16-volt capacitors. On this card, you get also 4, but 2 different kinds. So right next to VCore, you get a 270 microfarad 16-volt cap. That's some serious extra capacity. And then on the VCore, you have also 270, like the reference card. Though these are different caps, so these are not, like, these are Nichicon FP caps, which are rather nice. These I do not recognize the manufacturer of these. And then on the output, these look the exact same. So for output on both VCore and memory, you get 820 microfarad 2.5 volt caps, and that's pretty much it. So when it comes to cap modding the 460 Hawk, because this card really liked the extra capacitors I piled onto it, yeah, so I don't think modding the 12 volts power plane is gonna do much here, because we already have these extra capacitors, like these 470 microfarads, not 271. So yeah, that's 600 extra microfarads. I mean, you could put some more on there, but I don't think it would do as much as on the other 460. What I think is worth checking is VCore and maybe VMem. The memory on the other card didn't really care about capacitors, but the core did a lot. So putting extra caps on the VCore output filtering, like, actually, is the reference card using... Yeah, you do get some multi-layer ceramics right here. And then on the back you also have some multi-layer ceramics right there. This card gives you this row of multi-layer ceramics, and then on the back, nothing really. So yeah, the output filtering is actually about the same. So yeah, when it comes to modding the card, I think the first thing you should do is cap mod VCore. And yeah, I think cap modding VCore is the first thing you should do. Then maybe try 12 volts. Then maybe try a memory volt mod or a core volt mod. Though you could also just flash a custom BIOS that like allows you to go higher. So yeah, this video is already pretty long. So yeah, so in conclusion, I really like the card. I really like the GTX 460 Hawk. It's a very nice PCB, and especially for the price that I got it, it's like, yeah, it has been a very good purchasing decision. And yeah, I hope I will be getting very high clocks with this. Sadly, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, I did try to overclock it a little bit, and sadly the core is bad. The ASIC quality is really low. It's like better than 15% of GTX 460s, which is already not that good of a sign. And then I don't know where the stock voltage is, because it doesn't read correctly. At stock voltage you can get to like 950 megahertz with the stock voltage cranked, at which point it also gets really hot, so it's probably rather high. Yeah, so 1 GHz on air is probably not in it, not with the stock BIOS, which is kinda, yeah, it's not that great. But I mean, you could, I actually don't know how high the voltage is. Maybe it's just 1.1 volts. And then, yeah, that the card should scale a lot if the voltage is actually that low. And you could also just yeah, get the Morpheus, get a custom heatsink, and then like, yeah, this is already pretty close to 1 GHz. Like, I think this is gonna reach 1 GHz one way or another. Like, if the core scales as much as the other 460 with cap mods, this is gonna do 1 GHz easy. Like, the other card scaled 150 megahertz with the vCore cap mods. So this would bring me to 1.05 gigahertz, which would actually make this the second card to beat 1 gigahertz on air, and also maybe the fastest one, because the 560 Ti448 is able to run more than 1 gigahertz on air, but it kind of tops out at 1050 megahertz. And like, if I can make this run that clock, that would be very nice, because 560 Ti448 is kind of unreliable, because like it randomly dies and starts to live again, whereas this card is in very, very good condition. So yeah. So before we get to 40 minutes, I think I'm gonna end it here. So yeah, in conclusion, this is a very nice card. I really like this card. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to letting this card, letting it fly, and yeah, just overclocking this card. I'm looking forward to doing that. And yeah, so as we're now at the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed watching it, and until we see each other next time, goodbye.